Paving access to employment for America's hidden heroes. Hello, I'm Yolanda Vasquez, and welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I am joined now in the studio by Shelley Edwards. She is the Associate Director for the PAVE Program with the Paralyzed Veterans of America. Shelley, it's a pleasure to have you here in our studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk a little bit more about your organization. It's kind of interesting. Been around for almost 70 years.
Yes.
Started with military men who came back from World War II with spinal cord injuries. What were they in need of back then, and do you still provide the services today?
Well, back then, as veterans were returning to the States after suffering injuries, they were in need of quality health care. They were in need of adequate benefits and advocacy in both government and, as they were returning to their civilian lives. So for, like you said, almost 70 years, we've been providing that advocacy. Now, over the years, the needs for veterans has changed just a bit, and Paralyzed Veterans has been there every step of the way, providing right now solutions for veterans.
Speaking of which, solutions, there's a strong push by your organization to create a military family, caregiver-friendly workplace.
Absolutely.
What exactly does that mean?
Okay, well, we've, over the last few years, many employers have stepped up and committed to providing opportunities and support programs for veterans. We also need to understand that there is a forgotten and often overlooked and underserved population of hidden heroes, and those are the military caregivers. These are the men and women who are in the trenches every day with our disabled veterans, who are basically the lifelines for a lot of the veterans. And in most cases, we're talking about, spouses, but in many cases, we're talking about parents, siblings, even neighbors or friends who have taken on the burden of assisting these veterans on a daily basis. So we think it's important to educate employers to know that as they're developing programs to support our America's heroes, that we also need to include those that support them daily.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's probably very stressful. I mean, you're trying to maintain, be there for your loved one who's wounded, but at the same time try to maintain employment, keep a house, and do a few other things. So I know that you have a program called Operation PAVE. Yes. Tell us a little bit more about that and how it works.
Okay, Operation PAVE, which stands for Paving Access for Veterans Employment, is a vocational rehabilitation and employment program that provides services for veterans as well as spouses and dependents and caregivers. We offer the same benefits and services that we would to veterans, but we offer those to the caregivers of military families.
One of the things you and I were talking about before we started this interview was the benefits to employers. I mean, they probably maybe don't realize what it would be like to have these caregivers in their workplace, and what do they need to be aware of? Okay,
for starters, I want to say that surprisingly, employers will find that many of the caregivers are already in their workforce.
Sure.
They just don't necessarily self-identify because they don't want to be stereotyped or have the stigma of being a caregiver. It's much like a mother who is also a job seeker with young children and having the stigma of, needing to miss work or not being able to take on the demands.
So they're already
job.
there, but they need to be more understanding of what their situation is.
Right.
We've only got about 40 seconds left. I want to make sure that we get this little pamphlet in. If people want to find out some of the resources that you have available, there's a lovely PDF format of this booklet. Tell us a little bit more about what's in this.
Okay, this booklet is basically an outline of best practices and based on some research that we've done that gives employers some information about creating a military-friendly workplace.
Excellent, and they can find everything they need right in here. Shelley Edwards, it was a pleasure to have you on our program.
Thank
you so much for your time. We appreciate it. And that'll do it for this edition of Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Yolanda Vasquez. Thanks for watching, everybody. We hope to see you again real soon.